Host and your coach, Dr. Mary Ayers, and today you're going to finally get the answer to how often do I tap? This is undoubtedly one of the number one questions I get from all my clients and from people who are writing in questions that I've done for Nick and Jessica over the years. People want to know, how many times a day do I tap and for how long? Well, here's the deal. I'm going to lay it on the table right up front. There is no definitive answer. So if you are looking for a specific number, you're not going to find it here. But before you rush off, I'm going to let you know what I will offer you, and that is some guidelines. They're going to help you in your tapping practice. Because the truth is, nobody has an exact number. Be like saying, how many miles do I have to run to get fit? Or how many sit-ups do I need to do in order to have a six-pack? There is no answer. However, there are some guidelines, and that's what I'm going to give you. And mind you, these are just my suggestions. They may differ from the many other practitioners that are out there. These are derived by my experience of working with thousands of people over the years and my own experiences and my own personal tapping practice. So take what works for you, and let's start talking about this. So in my prep for this talk, I had to bundle the different ways I see that you can tap, and this is what I came up with, all right? There are tapping around old events, things that have already happened that you have a charge around. There's specific times that you can think of, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. The second way that we can use tapping is when we're taking a specific direction. We've got a goal, or there's something that you want to experience, you want to manifest in your life. I call it expansion. I call it closing the gap. This is when you're moving forward. You're using tapping for moving forward. That's another way that we're going to talk about it. And then we're going to talk about using tapping for stress relief, day in, day out, for being hijacked, just getting through your day, or at different times when things come up during your day. There's another way of using tapping. These are the three different lenses that I'm going to be looking at tapping. That doesn't mean that there aren't others, and who knows, a year from now I may have expanded this, but for our talk today, we are going to look at it from those three directions. So the first one is old event. Everybody knows, who's been following tapping understands that we utilize tapping for an old event that happened to us, a trauma that we're still holding in our body. And when we're tapping on an old event, a lot of times we'll use a tool called the movie technique, where we run it through our minds. We run that event like a little movie in our mind, breaking it down and tapping on all the different aspects of that movie, that thing that happened that time. It's got a time period around it. It's usually just a few seconds, and it's something in particular that happened that has become the trigger point for us, and we are able to tap it. And you will tap on that event and all the aspects around it until the number is very much down, possibly even a zero, to where you can run that small movie of that event and have no charge on it whatsoever. Now, when it comes to how often would you do something like that, you may only do a large event like that maybe one time a week, sometimes even only once a month. Now, if it's something as maybe it's a small event, that comes up for you while you're doing some other tapping about the time in third grade when you were really embarrassed and giving a report, or I call that a smaller event. We may call it a small T trauma. And that may come up while you're doing other kinds of tapping, and it may be something that you're able to zoom in on and tap about it, think about what that was like in third grade for you, see it until you can tap with no charge around it. Those may come up more often in conjunction with other work you're doing. But if you've got a large event, and you have a series of large events, that might be something that you do no more than once a week, maybe even once a month, as I said. These are the kinds of events I'm going to let you know that it may be best to work with a practitioner. I don't really encourage people to take out very large traumas and work on them themselves. If you're skilled, if you know how to start at the far edges and work towards the center, then you might give it a try. But these big events are the ones that I really encourage people to work with somebody if you know you have those in your life. Big events aren't something that you tap on a daily basis. They're very exhausting, they're big, they take a while to digest. It is powerful, powerful work when we take the charge out of those very large events. So the second, which I called moving in a specific direction, this is growth and expansion work. I call this closing the gap. This is moving from where you are to where you want to be, to expanding your life, opening up your comfort zones so that you can step into a bigger life and accomplish those things that you may want to do. It might be very, very goal specific. It might be something like losing weight or being in a relationship, starting a business or growing your business, or maybe you just want to focus on money beliefs and expanding your sense of abundance. This is what I call very specific growth and expansion work. And this is a very focused time. And then I will tell people, once a day, you're going to do some focused work. And focused work is deliberate work where you are moving forward. And let me give you a couple of examples. Let's say you take a belief that you want to have. Maybe it's a belief about more abundance. You want to believe maybe abundance comes easily to me. Or about a relationship. I have a happy and healthy relationship. Now this is you pointing yourself in a direction. You're not there yet. This is something you want to have. More abundance, healthy relationship, good health. And now you're going to work on closing that gap by tapping on beliefs and charges, old events, this is where they all come in, that clutter up your energy and keep you from receiving that thing that you want to have. So how you would start with this is, let's take one of these specific things like abundance comes easily to me. Say that's a belief you want to have, or I'm making a 6-figure income. And that's your goal, is to be able to say that and say it congruently. So you might start with, on a scale of 0 to 10, how true does it feel? Can you own that? Does it feel true to you? I make 6 figures. I'm in a healthy and beautiful relationship. How true does it feel? And let's say it's true at a 2. Maybe you're just a 2 on that. Oh, I don't really believe that I could make 6 figures. I don't know how it's going to happen. Or I can't really have a happy and healthy relationship. None of my other relationships have been that way. You want to feel that. That's where you are at a 2. And you would do your tapping about that. You would be tapping on, even though I don't believe that I can really have that kind of abundance, even though I don't believe that would ever happen for me. Things like that just don't happen for me. I like to put in, I'm willing to change that belief. I'm willing to be open to the possibility it could. Those are my favorite endings sometimes. Right? You're going to do that tapping. All my past tapping shows, all the other radio shows are going to give you examples of how to do that. We're really just, I want to focus on how often am I tapping. And of course, as you're doing that tapping on these limiting beliefs, other things are going to pop up, beliefs that you have about yourself. And this is where you can ask yourself, where did I learn those beliefs? What experiences taught me those beliefs? This is going to give you your deeper work and your events. And so you may have that small event that may have come up in 3rd grade. This is where you've now integrated doing a little bit more of a specific event tapping. So sometimes you're maybe just tapping on the idea of having that relationship, and you might just tap on, even though I don't really believe it's possible for me to have a happy and healthy relationship, I'm open to changing that now. And you go through maybe 1 round of that. It's only going to take you a couple of minutes. And you go back to that statement. Nothing came up. You go back to that statement. You judge it on a truth. How true does it feel now when you say, I have a happy and healthy relationship? And you find that, it feels a little bit more believable to you. Today it feels like a 5. You went from a 2 to a 5. You did your tapping for that growth and expansion. You don't have to sit there and get it all the way up to a 10. You did some work. This is the kind of work you might do once a day, and you might do this every day. You might do it 3 or 4 times a week. This is expansion work. You do it for a little bit, and you continue to, in a very focused way, put yourself on a program where you know that you are wanting to move towards the congruency of believing that belief, and you're going to do it like a program. I'm going to do this, I'm going to work on it on a regular basis, I'm going to see the changes. And of course that tapping may take anywhere between 5 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes to 5 minutes. It could go up to 20 minutes depending what you find. If you find an old event and you choose to use it at that time to do a little extra work on it, you might have a little bit longer of a tapping session than normal. But again, that focus work might just be 1 time a day. Because let me tell you, there's a possible danger in doing it too many times a day or for too long and not living life in the moment. And when that happens, you start to miss the noticing of what is showing up now that is new evidence that you are clearing that belief. So you do your work and then you go out into the world and your focus has changed. You're looking at the world differently. You're looking and noticing for what is starting to show up in your world that is evidence of these shifting beliefs. Because as your belief changes, of course, what you're manifesting in the real world is going to change too. But if you're spending all of your time tapping, you're not out there living and noticing the change. So there is danger in doing too much work. I say, if you want to set yourself up on a 1 time in the morning, 1 time in the night, that would be the maximum time. Really 1 time a day, and then going out and looking for those changes is going to be far more beneficial than spending a bunch of time trying to tap to clear all of your limiting beliefs. Because the trap with that is that now you're focused more on your limiting beliefs. You're going to be noticing them. You're going to start to get amped that it's never going to happen. Instead of feeling good about the fact that your beliefs are shifting and changing, you're now experiencing more angst around the fact that it's not happening fast enough. And we all know that you don't manifest the good stuff from anxiety. You're only manifesting more of that instead of really focusing on what it is you want and how good it will feel. Ultimately, you're going to set yourself up for success here by putting yourself on maybe a 3 or 4 day practice. I tell people if you get to do it every single day, you get an extra celebration for that. There are other ways for you to touch your intentions daily. Tapping is just one of them. So there are other ways for you to do things that will allow you to touch it on a daily basis. Being able to tap once a day, no more than that, and possibly 3 or 4 times a week on a regular basis is really where you're going to see your growth and expansion. All right, then the last way I said was about stress relief. And that is using your tapping in the moment. And this can range, the amount of time you might do this can range anywhere from 0, maybe you don't use it at all in a day because maybe you were doing really well, you never really got super stressed out, anywhere to several times during a very, very rough day. So this is quick tapping. This is the kind of tapping, when I call it stress relief, getting through a hijack moment, it is to be able to just keep yourself out of those high ranges of stress. So this is quick tapping you may do when you feel stuck about something. Let's say you have something to write or a task that needs done and you're procrastinating. This is tapping you might do when you want to binge or any other behavior that has the intention to tranquilize the anxiety. So this is in the moment tapping. And it may look like this. Let's say you're at work and there's something you need to address. There's an email that you find yourself not getting to, a report that you need to write. Then you find yourself putting it off. Every time you think of it, you're anxious. This is where, if you have the ability to close the door, do that. I know a lot of people are not working in private areas anymore, so I always say to them, go to the bathroom. Even if it's a stalled bathroom, you can sit in the stall and go through the points while thinking about that thing. You can mouth the words. You don't have to say them out loud. Think about that report or that email you've got to get back to somebody and how it makes you feel. Bring that stress down. You're going to tap about that event, that thing you need to do. It could have been something a coworker said or an email that you got. Whatever it is, you're in there, you're tapping, you're bringing down the energy around it. And when you do that, it's going to give you more room to think and to plan and to come up with some ideas about how you might handle it. So the idea here is to lift off some of the energy overload, alleviate that fight or flight response so that you can get back to your activities and hopefully from a calmer place. So you're going to use your tapping in the moment around a specific thing that happened, that came up, that gets you into overwhelm, and it's to bring you down so that you can get something done, right? These are times you're probably not going to get down to a zero. That's not really your goal. Your goal is just to be able to catch your breath, to get out there. And in your tapping, you may find, though, that insights of events of specific times did come up. Now, you're usually not going to have time to go and do your deeper work because, after all, you're sitting in the bathroom, and if you're in there longer than a few minutes, somebody might get concerned about it. And so this is where you might go and write down that event or write down that thing to work on at another time. And it may come up more around a specific event. You wrote it down. You think to yourself, I really need to work on that. And that might be something that you schedule for yourself, a specific event of when that happened. And that event you'll go and you'll do, like we talked about in the first time, you'll go in and do the movie technique and really get it down to zero. Think of all the aspects of it. That's where you would be able to take your in the moment tapping and take it further at another time. So there's no time requirement around this kind of tapping, right? You're gonna tap when you need it. You're gonna tap to bring yourself that overwhelm, that confusion down so that you can get back into work. It may be once a day. Some days are going to require more times a day. And then there are going to be some days it feels like you could be in that bathroom or you could be tapping all day long. Some days we just seem fit to be tied. It doesn't seem like we can calm ourselves down at all. It doesn't feel like it lasts. We tap for a little bit, we get something done, and it feels like we're back up there again on the scale and we're having to tap for that. I get it. That has happened to me as well. And an easy conclusion to come up with, I know that people have said to me, is like, oh my gosh, tapping isn't working. It isn't helping, because they're tapping all day long and they feel like, I'm never calmed down. I never felt like I could ever get my breath. And I say to them, it's not that the tapping isn't helping. Something might be going on. It might be the kind of day that's going on and you're in the middle of it. It's not something that has a beginning and an end. It's an all-day event that keeps happening. Remember, the value for you in doing your tapping, even though it doesn't feel like it's working as well, is that the tapping is helping to keep the energy moving. It has a purpose. And like I said, it happens to me. I can have this kind of day. I still can have this kind of day because I find that it's more likely to happen when you do your expansion work. When it happens, you're doing your best to tap for the chaotic feelings that come up. And it's just how it is. You've got to be gentle with yourself and remember to do other helpful things. Tapping is going to be one of the big things you do. Even if it feels like it's not really making a difference, do it anyhow. Tap for that. Oh my God, this isn't helping. I don't see anything helping today. I don't think the tapping's working. That's okay. Say that. So you're doing your tapping, you're saying that, stay with it. Do other things that will help you too. This might be a day where you drink more water. You want to keep the energy moving. Take a hot bath at home when you get there if you can, and go to bed early. What I can tell you is this: tomorrow will be different. Even if today feels like everything that you didn't seem like it helped very much, tomorrow will be different. One of the things I offer my one-on-one coaching clients is these little SOS calls. They're 15-minute calls. This is the time that they're usually calling me. I'm helping them through this, and I say to them, get back to me the next day. And invariably, people get back to me the next day and they say, I feel so much better today. I can feel the difference. I might feel I have a little bit of an energy hangover. I might still feel some of the, the repercussions of having that kind of chaotic day, but I feel better. I know that I'm going to survive. I'm going to survive this day. So even on those roughest days, you still use the tapping. You may use it who knows how many times a day. There's really no number, because you're in the midst of it. It's the next day that you're really looking for the shift. And I'm telling you, you will feel better the next day. And remember, these are temporary days. They don't happen that often. They come around every once in a while. They start to be farther and fewer between. But like I said, when we're doing our expansion work, we may find ourselves there a little bit more often, and that's of course why we have to have a good plan for ourselves. Right? So another way, just as a stress relief, and I've had many people use it this way, is to tap right before bed. That it doesn't have to be while I'm laying in bed. It can be a little bit at the end of the evening. Some people have developed it as a little bit of a ritual. All they're doing is going through the points and thinking of the day. They're just walking themselves through the day. How did the morning go? Then I spilt the milk all over the place, and that took an extra few minutes, and then I had to drop off the cleaning, and then there was extra traffic, and you're just kind of talking through the day. You're tapping through the points, and you're just releasing some of the garbage of the day that you might have picked up that maybe you didn't get a chance to tap for. Maybe it was not a big deal, but cumulatively by the end of the day it starts to show up a little bit. And a lot of people who do this tapping remark about how much better they sleep at night because they've dumped this off at the end of the day. Again, this is something you can try if you're having trouble sleeping. Some people only do it if they had a very big day. They don't think about doing it every night. It's not something I necessarily do every night. It's something I may do every once in a while. And of course, it might take just a few minutes of your time to do as you go through your day. If you found there was a particular part of your day that you didn't get to address, now that you think about it, I got that crappy email that came in, and when I'm thinking about it, I find myself a little riled up about it. You might take a couple extra rounds of tapping and think about that email and how it made you feel, and then just keep moving through your day, and off to bed you go, and see how you do. See what that's like for you. So these are the guidelines I'm suggesting that you can use for tapping. Anywhere to a couple of times a week to daily use. But here's another question. Can you tap too much? I get that too. Well, can you tap too much? And here's what I say. Anything done excessively can be a problem. We can get kind of compulsive about stuff. It can then go from being a good and helpful thing to now it becomes this obsessive thing that has lost the good qualities of it. You've heard me concerned about people hiding out, getting lost in their practices of introspection, of needing to find those root causes. I find it's a way for people to be able to stall and hide out instead of living their life and engaging in life. So just watch for that. All right, here's what I thought I'd do. I thought I'd leave you with a little bit of tapping for this about possible unclarity or some confusion about what I'm talking about. And so just think right now, take a breath. All right, I've introduced 3 different ideas of different areas that you can use your tapping in. I didn't give you a definitive answer on how much and how long. Right? So just feel now, do you feel clearer? Do you still feel confused? And if you're feeling some confusion, we're going to do a little bit of tapping for you, okay? So we're going to start at the karate chop. Even though I still have some confusion about this, I'm still unclear. I'm willing to be clear anyhow. Even though I'm afraid I'm not tapping enough. I should be doing more. I'm probably not doing enough. I wonder where else I feel this way. And I'm willing to feel calm about this now. even though I've been feeling unclear and unsure. And this feels familiar. I recognize this feeling. What if I do it differently this time? And we'll go to the eyebrow. This feeling of confusion. Side of the eye. I still don't get it. Under the eye. I can't figure it out. Under the nose. I'm probably the only one. On the chin. Who doesn't get it? Collarbone. Everyone else gets it. Under the arm. But me. Top of the head. And I'm going to be left behind. Back at the eyebrow. This feeling, everyone but me gets it. Side of the eye. That's familiar. Under the eye. The overwhelming feeling of confusion. Under the nose. And the feeling of being left out. On the chin. I recognize this feeling. Collarbone. I wonder what would happen. Underneath the arm. When I breathe into this. Top of the head. And find myself relaxing a little bit. Back at the eyebrow. Maybe I have more clarity than I thought. Side of the eye. What if I did have some clarity about this? Under the eye. In the past, I would get overwhelmed and confused. Under the nose. Now when that happens, I have a way out. On the chin. A way to relax and get calm. Collarbone. I never had that before. Under the arm. Now I do. Top of the head. Now I do. Take a breath. Now you can use that kind of tapping for any kind of confusion and clarity. So earmark this, because even if it's not about how often do I tap, it's another tapping that you've got available to use as a resource for those times when you are feeling confused and unclear. All right. This is your coach, Dr. Mary Ayers, and I'm here to help you transform that chaotic energy of fear and anxiety and funnel it into energy that's going to propel you forward. You can email me at any time at mary@tapintooaction.com. And until next time, stay brilliant.